Hi, everybody. I'm super excited. Welcome back to another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. My name is Tish, and today I have a very dear friend and sister, Heather Christie, with us. And and Heather, I'd love for you to share a little bit where you are and just kind of give us a brief introduction about you.
Yeah, so I live in Topanga Canyon, California, just north of LA. And I have been rocking out this quarantine here in the mountains of Santa Monica, and it's beautiful. And I've been working on a new EP. I'm a singer, songwriter, and producer primarily, as well as a vocal coach and music business mentor. So I've been working on a lot of prongs of my music and online business essentially. So
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for saying yes to be featured today. I'm super thrilled to hear the little nuggets that's going to come from our conversation. Um,
yeah.
so let's just dive straight into it. Like I shared with you, this creating of a YouTube channel is very new for me. And it's like, I never thought that, like I would do something like this, but it's just kind of like adapting to like what is in flow right now. And I feel like it's such a beautiful platform for us to share tools and techniques on our own personal experience of what does it mean to be grounded? What does it mean to live simply in this time, where everything is shifting, everything's changing, everything's uncertain. And so everybody has different backgrounds and kind of like fields of work and type of things. So it's always so interesting to hear what everybody's perspective is on that. So why don't you maybe share with us a little bit about what that looks and feel like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for me, I guess screens and devices have always been a big thing, like they are for us all. And it's just become even more of a big thing since the quarantine because it's not only how we like portal, it's how we like can make money and connect with our friends and our family and like everything. And so for me, I guess the biggest piece has been to ground into my body and to like simplify what that looks like, because usually I'm running around, I'm driving a lot, in LA I'm driving like 2 hours a day, on average. And I'm like zipping from my yoga class to work to the thing to the friend to the whatever. And so for me, grounding into simplicity has looked more like waking up at a certain time every day and having some ritual, like with how I start my day, not starting it with my phone or anything, like not being on technology for the first like 30 minutes if I can, and just like, drinking some hot lemon water, brushing my teeth, and like going outside and lying on the earth. Um, and so, yeah, and then just kind of having that sense throughout my day of when things get overwhelming, because I do feel like my brain go into this like technology waffle kind of sometimes where it's like all just kind of too much for my brain. I'm just like, like I can't. I'm like, oh, multitask freeze. Like, there's so many little things and tasks to do. I'm just like a deer in headlights. And so like for my practice, it's just about coming back to my senses and like kind of stepping away and being like, oh, how are my shoulders? And like, oh my God, like what if I breathe just a teeny bit more deeply right here? Like, what is that like? Or like, oh my God, what's the sun doing? Or how are the birds? So like coming back to my physical senses, like as many times a day as I can in whatever way that looks, like without having expectation of how that's going to look or how long I'm going to do it, just like, just doing it. That's been really, yeah, that's really been kind of key for me.
That's amazing. And would you say that, I mean, you were just saying that you were driving around so much. For me, my life hasn't really shifted that much besides the traveling, but I'm someone that I'm a loner, right? And so for me, it's actually been very beneficial having this quarantine time because I have found myself grounding first for the first time in 3 years, really grounding, not just like doing a grounding practice, but really having a home and a cocoon that I can really take care of myself would you say things have shifted for you since the quarantine time? Like, have you had more time to be with your beloved or have more playful time or be out in nature? Like, what are the things that have shifted for you in a positive way during these changing times?
Okay.
So we had a little glitch there, but we're back together. So yeah, I think we were just speaking to, what has shifted for you in a positive way during this time.
What has shifted for me in a positive way? I mean, I would speak to that on kind of a global level, because I feel like on a personal level, it's hard for me to know what has shifted for me because I'm so in it that like I feel like I'm not going to really feel that like realization until I'm integrating, if that makes sense. But I do know that I feel like on a large scale level, what has shifted positively is this kind of humbling of humans that sort of puts us in our place with regards to being passengers on this planet and not having quite such a high level of output and excessive like usage of fossil fuels and just fast-paced realities on this planet. I feel like I've been sensing into the earth and how different wildlife is starting to come out more, and even here in LA how I feel like the air is cleaner. So things like that have been really powerful. And also, I guess, in addition to that, and on a personal level, certain things have been coming more to focus, like the desire to support local farmers markets, and things like that, and really actually thinking locally, or acting locally rather, because we can't quite act as globally as we are used to being able to. So it's almost like that quote, think global, act local. It's kind of, we're being forced to do that right now. And it almost reminds me of like how things used to be in the olden days, when it was like a big deal to drive like 5 hours away or something, and people were just kind of acting more localized. But with the internet, we are connected to everyone in the world. And so that's another thing that's been pretty cool, is that I've been gaining more connections like internationally through my like social media and stuff. For example, this one singer-songwriter from Italy just like found me and reached out and wanted to do a collaboration. And she was like, I'm going crazy, I'm in lockdown, like let's record this song. And so we did. And it was like, oh, that probably wouldn't have happened, so different kinds of collaborations, a lot more time to focus on my music, and just a humility that has been a long time coming, and I feel like is going to be producing a really positive, powerful change, and one that I hope lasts. But again, I think it will be really interesting to see how that manifests as we come out of this.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I love that concept of like, interwoven more into the local communities. Because even with me in Costa Rica, it's like we have different communities in different areas, and it's now beautiful to see how the communities are coming together in their own little areas and supporting each other, delivering organic foods, or creating little community gift packs to give to those who are less fortunate. And yet we still have this international global connection through all the online festivals and all the online events. And another thing I've realized just by having this conversation too is like I actually got to like experience more of my teachers now, because they're offering more things online. Whereas normally most of the things used to be in person, right? It's like, come to my retreat or come to my workshop. And because I live in Costa Rica, a lot of these people are in Europe or in the US or Thailand or whatever. And so now I actually have an opportunity to kind of drop into a class and to kind of like rekindle that teachings and that connection with them. So yeah, it's really beautiful to see that. So
Totally.
I'm curious, you say that one of the things you just mentioned is you had this collaboration with these women. And what else have been sparked for you in terms of creativity during this time and these shifting times?
Hmm. I think my music has taken a more earthy, no bullshit turn, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, right? Like, I think we've all been, I don't know if inspired is the right word, but creatively motivated by this time. And those of us who make art, whatever our art form is going to be reflecting what we're going through in this time. So for me, yeah, some of the songs I've been writing recently, like the one I just put out called After the Fire, was it was cool because it was written kind of about this sense of like darkness but radical hope, like on that balancing knife edge, which has been a really empowering and inspiring theme in general, just with global warming and everything that we're facing. But like I feel like it just sunk in and really hit that vibe. And so it felt very like, I don't know, it just felt really resonant to me for the time that we're in. And also just, yeah, kind of like I said, this humbling of we can't go where we used to go. And also all the more space and spaciousness that we have with ourselves has created this sort of like, all right, well, what what are you going to make? What do you want to make? Not to impress anyone or not to like get anywhere, or you know what I mean, go somewhere with it. Just like what is the most exciting for you to wake up and create today. So kind of stripping away some levels of preconceived notions, I guess, and just sort of getting to the like raw creative edge has been super cool. And it's been kind of like this sense of relief of actually dropping into where I'm just resonating naturally and creating from that place, and then just taking it from there. That's been really cool to watch and to follow the thread of,
I love that, because I just had a conversation with another sister the other day, and it's like what we're realizing now, or many of us, what's happening is that where in past we created to either accomplish or prove or put something out, we're
Mm-hmm.
having an opportunity to just create from this space of joy. Like how does it make me feel? Like can I find the sweetness in the creation, even if it isn't a masterpiece of whatever it is, even if it's making a salad, just finding that simple joy, and that. And then also the things that how we talk, how we speak, how we create, what we eat, from the tiniest little things, just like really tuning into the subtleties, where I'm seeing and I'm recognizing and I'm picking up as I'm having these conversations with various people. So you touched upon, share with me a little your new song that you released. What is it called?
It's called After the Fire.
After the Fire. And then you mentioned, which the word I really like a lot, radical hope. Is that correct? What it kind of,
Yeah.
so what does that mean for you? What is radical hope?
To me, radical hope is this sense of being real with the world and the way things are, and kind of looking at the darknesses of the environmental situation, political situation, just reality that some people might get really upset by or angry about, and actually choosing to have a stance of uh, seeing a better future coming through all of that. So it's more like a choice. It's like a choice based on looking at the reality and then actively choosing basically a positive perspective through all the information, and choosing to focus on creating what you want to create versus focusing on all the shitty shit.
Indeed. So what I'm feeling from this is that it's having the conscious choice that each of us have to choose. Are we going to choose the hope and having the faith and trusting in the mystery, or are we going
Mhm.
to downward spiral into all of the things that's kind of like, I see it as like, you know, in the olden days when TV went out and it's like that gray, like, because when I get too
Mhm.
caught up in all of it, you know, I feel like my mind is just like that stage. And so I feel like this radical hope that you're speaking to is this conscious choice that we make day to day,
Mhm.
choosing to have faith and hope and trust in the mystery and the unfolding. I love that. It's beautiful. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess I want to talk a little about, you know, diving into what was it like for you, or did you even experience a moment where you started shifting, where something inside of you was like, wait, hold on, you know, I was programmed this way and I'm showing up this way and I was taught these things, but deep down inside of my heart, I want to live a different way, I want to create in a different way, you know. And I call this the awakening process. And for everybody's process, it looks different. And some people wake up very awoke, if you will, you know. But for me, it was very real in 2012 when I had my shift happening. And I'm curious if there was something for you, or if there's something you want to share to those that are feeling that shift, that tiny little bit of just like, wow, like I used to go to work every day and this is what I used to do. And now I'm painting mandalas and dancing to Amber Ryan's ecstatic dances. And I'm feeling like something is alive in me and I want to explore that. Was there something like that for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Um, First of all, do it. Just explore that edge, explore the creative edge, because I feel like that's how I've always lived my life on some level, is wanting to be on the edge of my creative experience. And I've been very lucky to have a family who has in general supported that. But in speaking about the shift that I went through, it's funny. I'll speak to the 2012 piece and the Costa Rica piece, because for me those were both big elements in this this time in my life when I had gone to India, which broke open my worldview of how the Western world works. And I kind of saw a different future for myself, rather than the big houses and kind of maybe this life on Broadway, which I had previously dreamt of. I kind of saw my future in a yurt and like just a whole different setup. I was like, okay, no, it's not about growing materially per se. And then right after that, I decided to, this was, right after I graduated from college, I took this money that my grandmother had gifted me on her passing, and I wanted to go to Latin America because I love Spanish. And so I went to Guatemala, fell in love, and then traveled by bus from Guatemala to Costa Rica because I wanted to get my yoga teacher training from a very specific woman, Sophia Tom, because she, pulled together dance and yoga, those were my big passions kind of throughout college. So that was my calling, and that was my following that creative edge. And then while I was in that program, I feel like it's the only way I could have received this strong of a message, was that I had taken all the steps to like turn over the leaves of my curiosity, leading me up to that place. But what I received from it was this huge, like, validating answer of like, you are here to sing and share your voice. And
Mhm.
that was the message I got from her yoga teacher training. So it was kind of like not what I was expecting, but it was right? It was this big, like, oh, like kind of, it felt like this big tube extending out from my solar plexus out in front of me forever. And it was like this river that I was just to soulfully carve for the rest of my life. And it just felt like finally I was connected to that one singular focus vision that like could just propel me. And it was connected to the core like reason for me being here. And so everything that I've chosen from that point forward has been kind of a building block of that particular shift in that time that I went through.
Beautiful. And were you singing before that? Was your throat already open? So you were, but you were not fully yet in it, and that was kind of like the confirmation of like, yes, I need to do this.
Totally. And I had been training and singing all throughout my childhood, but I was also training in theater and dance. Like I said, I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to be a performer, and I knew that, but college life, and everything didn't feel quite real. And so just in terms of like my life practice and my business and my purpose and everything that I was going to base my life around, I had not chosen something. I had not chosen what that was going to be, So it was really that moment that I decided to entrepreneurially, if you will, take on that aspect of my being as like my main purpose, offering business, like whatever, and learn everything I had to learn about doing that in the world.
So, now fast forward a few years and talking about like your business and your purpose and your offering, share with me a little more, like what is your greatest joy right now, like in terms of like business for you and creating, like what is now in this time right now? Because I know you can't perform and go out and do shows and things like now. So we all kind of have to like pivot. So what is being birthed through this process, and what are you offering right now for people to share your unique gifts to the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you for asking that. I feel like I'm finally relaxing into this other part of my being that's always been here too. But I haven't been as active in it because I've had this fear around it has to be one thing or the other, or I have to choose my performing self over my teaching self, because I can only give enough attention to one thing at a time. That was sort of my mindset throughout my 20s. But at this point in my life, I'm ready to say the quantum answer is I am both at the same time. And I am a teacher, and I come from a lineage of teachers, and it's kind of in my blood. And it gives me like almost just as much of the same joy as I get from performing, to teach and to hold space and to facilitate. And one edge that I'm leaning into is probably the most basic thing that comes the most naturally to me, which is an illusion in how simple it really is the singing and the vocal activation. And it's to be totally honest, it's been really hard for me to just like be like, okay, I'm going to offer that, because to me, it's like that mind that wants to run around, and that hamster that wants to run around on the wheel, all the while not seeing that like what's underlying it is actually the juicy juice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me to be digging into offering a space and a facilitation and a guidance for other people to access the power of their voices, it's like, ooh.
Beautiful. I love that. It's the simple things. This is what we're talking about, right? It's like this thing that is so simple, that's right in front of us, that we were running so fast that we couldn't see the gem inside of it, is now right in front of us, and we're actually tapping into it. And this gift that you have, which I want you to speak a little more about, what is vocal activation? What is opening your voice? Like really speak to it in a way that I can, and our listeners can understand, like, what does it really mean? Like for me, even it's like, well, what does it mean to activate our voice? Or, like I want to understand a little more, like what would that look like? And also like, I think there is a common thread between human beings, that we are either a singer or we're not, and so it's like, even if I'm tuning into you, it's like, well, like, why would I want to do that? So maybe even speak about that feeling. What does it feel like to free the voice, and what comes with that? I'm sure it's some empowerment or something. I don't really know.
Wow. Oh, thank you for that. Huge question. I feel like that's a huge, a question that can come with a huge answer. And it's really because I feel like vocal activation, if you will, if we're using that as a term, is basically a way to connect with your voice as a gateway to your soul, meaning a channel for like your deepest self and who you as a being, Tish, are in this world. It's like your voice is the way you communicate. Your voice is the way that you connect so much with humans, with the world. And it doesn't have to just look like an artistic singing sense, but it's this power that we all have. And so for me, I try to scale it back to, we are all singers. It is our birthright to have access to this creative play with our vocal cords, essentially. It's not about being a singer or not. And I realize that a lot of people have fears around expression in that way, or they have blockages that culture has told them, you know, to suppress that. But for me, it's this immensely pleasurable and powerful and open and free and flowing feeling that you can have on a daily, moment to moment basis when you are exploring what is behind the words that you speak or sing, and get into the vibration and resonance and confidence that can be built with building an intimate relationship with your voice.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps all over. I love that expression. It's so beautiful. Wow. Such a potent way to express what vocal activation mean. You know, I myself have gone through experiences where, through the power of sound healing and really connecting with the resonance of my balls, I would sing. And I don't really call it singing. It's like just this thing that comes through me, and it doesn't even sound like me, right? So it's this unique expression that is coming through me as I'm just holding the channel, as I'm just holding the space for these vibrational tones that wants to come through. And I can really say that from a standpoint of a sound therapist, sound healer, someone who works with sound and help women heal their wombs through opening up the voice and sound toning, that it has been such a healing modality for me. Just getting away from that self-judgment of like, how does this tone need to sound? And it's really helped me to relax into my pelvic floor and to open up my womb space for more creativity to come through. So I really see your work as such an incredible healing tool for men and women, because we hold so much in our hearts and our womb. And you know, as you know, the vocal cords is directly linked to the yoni. So it's really just for me so beautiful to hear the expression of how you explain this, because you know, I don't say that I do sound vocal activations. I just say like, let's just open the throat. Let's just like whatever wants to. And I think we're just so programmed to think that it has to sound a certain way. Because my teacher always said, you know, Tish, your voice is the greatest sound healing tool. You can have no sound healing instruments, but if you can channel and anchor in the frequency of love and the vibration of love through your voice, no matter what it sounds like, that is healing in itself. So yeah, amazing. So
Beautiful.
I'd love to know, you know, what is the current offerings that you have going on right now? If anybody wants to connect with you, are you doing like personal coaching? Do you have online programs? What's kind of a life for you in terms of the, you know, the online biz?
Yeah. So in terms of the vocal piece, I'm offering monthly full moon practices just for anyone who wants to hop on in Zoom right now. It's kind of my quarantine offering. Yeah, just as an hour-long vocal practice to get into that intuitive space with the voice. And then I will be offering a longer 8-week course in the later summer on similar topics of basically embodying the voice. So singing from a full body perspective. And then I do also coaching in the breadth of kind of a more full music business perspective. I do a 6-week course called The Wise Musicpreneur that's going to be touching on basically all of the avenues that you have to hit as an entrepreneur, an independent musician in the field. So booking, launching, admin, all the like things that you have to become good at. And then I also am teaching a series of workshops here and there on Ableton, which is the music production program that I use to create my songs and production. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. I will definitely people can find all of your website and all of your info also on the video content in the little blurb. So if they want to follow you. But is there anything else, maybe a little gem or a little something that you want to leave, a word of inspiration, maybe a poem comes through, whatever, a spoken word? Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with that's just a little bit of you, inspirational?
I just want to say thank you for being who you are today and every day.
Oh, meow, meow, meow. That's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, babes. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for your time and just for being you and just for sharing your magic with the world. Yeah, guys, if you like this video, please share it, like it, comment, and stay tuned for another episode of Grounding into Simplicity. So much love.